Now, Electricity Minister Kgosientsho Ramokgopa has warned of an imminent municipal grid collapse, even as Eskom shows signs of improvement. This is largely due to the deteriorating state of municipal power infrastructure that threatens to exacerbate the ongoing electricity challenge. Joining me now to delve into the details is energy writer for Business Day, Denene Erasmus. Denene, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, happy to join you.
I think before we get into the nitties here, I think we did see the Electricity Minister, Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, giving a briefing just over the last few days. Just recapping with you, checking for myself and for our viewers, there's still a very reasonable explanation about why we don't have load shedding at the moment.
Again, I absolutely understand your nervousness about the situation, but yes, so I think that what we've seen happen over the last 5 weeks is just really intensified over the last week and then the beginning of May, where there has definitely been a decline in the unplanned outages. So that's the breakdowns, with breakdowns now at the lowest point where we've seen them in almost 2 years at about 11,000 megawatts. Last year and earlier this year, when we saw stage 6 load shedding, just to put it into context, those unplanned breakdowns were sitting at about 18 and 19,000 megawatts. So that is a huge improvement in terms of how the system is actually performing, and to also see that further. For the first week in May, there was almost no use of the diesel-powered open-cycle gas turbines that are used during peaking times when there isn't enough supply from the coal and nuclear fleet. So yes, there's still definitely signs of real improvement in Eskom's performance.
Now, I must ask you, Denene, we've actually spoken about this briefly in the past, that we knew it was happening with a generation. We can see the plans for transmission materializing, but that distribution would be the next point of, attention. And I think that's what the minister is speaking about now. Let's talk about municipalities as the point of distribution.
Yeah, this is not something we have spoken about a lot. I think we have spoken before about the debt crisis at municipalities, with municipalities now owing Eskom about 75 billion rand in arrear debt. But yeah, we haven't really discussed the problem with distribution, and I think this has really become more apparent now that we have not had load shedding, because even though power supply from Eskom has been consistent over the last 6 weeks, many of us can still attest to the fact that we're still experiencing frequent power interruptions. And this would then be because of that last mile distribution infrastructure that brings the electricity to our homes, which in many cases is managed by municipalities.
We must also then speak about, how far we might be at contextualizing the risk that sits at municipal level and even the solutions. I do believe that when the current electricity minister was in charge of Infrastructure South Africa, he had mentioned it, and I'm wondering if that also helps with how advanced we might be in the conversation around this kind of risk, Denene.
I think, unfortunately, we have not really moved very fast or far in really finding a solution to this, because this is really a money problem. It's a funding problem where municipalities are either not spending their money well, overspending on some things, and some money, as we know, just going missing. But then we've also got that problem of under recovery, where municipalities are struggling to get their customers to pay their bills. So what we saw in South Africa's infrastructure investment report that Ramokgopa was in charge of developing before he was appointed as electricity minister, is that municipalities have a backlog of investing in distribution infrastructure of more than 30 billion rand. So it is really up to government, treasury, with municipalities to now look at how do we address this very, very real funding problem, to make sure that that infrastructure can be maintained at a time when municipalities are losing customers who are deciding to rather install renewables and as far as possible go off the grid.
It does also sound like a decentralized kind of a problem that might need individual attention? I mean, if I think of the different municipalities, how they operate, the different, dynamics that play within Denene, and that's an extra level of complexity, one that we don't see at generation, one that we don't see at transmission level here.
Yes.
And that, for me, is a big area of concern because, yeah, it just needs a very intentional resources. So along with the money, skills, political will, quite a bit going into it.
You're absolutely right. And I think this is what will make distribution probably the most challenging problem to solve, because it isn't a single problem. It's each municipality, and then within municipalities, different areas of different problems. I think if we just look at where I'm based in Johannesburg, in many areas, the problem with distribution infrastructure is vandalism, where transformers and substations are getting vandalized, often leading to people being left without electricity for days on end. So it is an extremely complex problem that will have different solutions for each municipality, but also for different districts within municipalities.
I must also then ask you here, Denene, that when we hear the electricity minister speak of solutioning for this, where is his mind about where to start? Because I think that the big one also is where to start. Like you're saying, it's complex, it's overwhelming here. Do we go straight to local government level, speak to SALGA? Do we try to do it from the top at national level here? Where can we start solutioning for this?
Well, I think one of the solutions that we have spoken about in previous interviews is the debt intervention that Treasury has announced. And through this intervention, they are trying to get municipalities to get at least better financial systems in place so that they can increase their collections on power bills, which would then, to an extent, begin to help solve one of the big problems, which is the funding problem. But there are also cases now where we are seeing Eskom becoming more involved and really trying to assist municipalities in the maintenance of their substations, for example. So as we see the Eskom breaking into its 3 separate entities, where we will see Eskom distribution stand as a standalone entity. Hopefully, we will then also see that from Eskom's side, there is more involvement on the municipal level to really help these municipalities that don't have the capacity, that don't have the skills to do this maintenance, to be able to reach out to Eskom to assist with that.
Sounds like we'll be speaking about this for a while in that to come. Denene, thank you so much for your time today and helping us understand where we are with this one. That was Energy Writer for Business Day, Denene Erasmus.